Nutrition and health. I have my guest sister, Fahima Mohammed. Salam alaikum, sister.
Alaikum salam.
How you doing? You okay?
Very well, thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And yes, brother Ben, the chef.
Hello.
Good to see you. Hello. How you doing? You okay?
Very good, thank you.
Good. You again a complexity as always, keeping us guessing, keeping us on our toes. I'm thinking, I'm pondering, I'm reflecting. What has he got in store for us today?
Yep. So I mean, just another really simple, nutritious recipe that everyone should be eating through Ramadan. It's just oats and milk really, and then toppings of your choice. This is another one that you can customize, make it your own, really open for interpretation. So
I see more than oats though. Talk us through, if you can, what you have in your platter.
Yeah, so this is just for garnish really. This is for the extra little touch.
And what's there? What's there?
So we've got some sunflower seeds, we've got some chia seeds, chia seeds. We have some dried raisins and some pistachios.
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, that's just what we have decided to pair with it. I mean, everyone at home can do what they want, really.
And this is milk or cottage? What's
that's milk.
just straightforward
That's
milk?
just
Straight,
milk.
straight, yeah. Full fat?
You know what? That
It's
is
open.
your preference, really. That's your preference. So what we're going to do is try, haven't thought about this, have we? To get this into the jar.
Okay, while you do that,
Yeah.
let's just talk about the oats for a moment.
Oats.
Oats are
Carbohydrates.
yes.
Mhm.
A lot of people are sort of like, apprehensive, thinking that carbohydrates is not necessarily good for you, but
You
obviously
need some in your diet,
do
man. You need some to have a balanced
and
diet.
Yes, it depends on the amount. It's with any ingredient,
Mhm.
any recipe. It's all about having a sort of a decent amount. And anything, obviously, of excess is not good for you,
Yeah,
regardless of what it
And
is.
carbs have a slow release.
That's the thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And especially when you're having it as
That would work
breakfast,
for
that's very good for energy.
for Ramadan. Yeah.
Definitely. And it's a really healthy grain. It's one of the healthiest ones known.
Okay.
So at the same time, we will benefit a lot from having oats. It will boost our energy. It actually even will keep us fuller, so that actually it can help us lose weight.
So, what you mean? Help to eat less, to want to eat
Yes.
less, stay satiated for a longer
Yes.
period of time.
Definitely.
All right. So, what's your next move, Ben? What's your next move?
Next move would be, obviously, fill up the jar a bit more than that, and then top it with some milk. And what that's going to do is hydrate the oats and create a lovely sort of soft, moist texture that is fantastic to start the day for breakfast or at any time really. Just a great way for energy and to.
Is there enough porridge in there? Do you need a couple more spoons, or is that good? Is that good to go?
This will go in the fridge overnight.
Ah,
and that will
okay.
soak up,
Oh, so it would
that will soak up the.
and expand the porridge.
Yes, exactly. So
Normally,
this is
when you're cooking oats, it does sort of go thicker
Yeah.
with the liquid.
It does take a while.
Yeah, even when I'm making porridge in the morning, you can tell how the consistency changes
Yeah.
with time.
Once you've heated it,
But
yeah.
I actually
yeah.
normally had it hot, not necessarily cold. So this is quite interesting. So
Very
oats
interesting. Very
with-
different.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
different, and probably more refreshing, because you don't want to have a hot porridge. Probably
exactly.
That's the thing.
It is
Mm-hmm.
summer after all. We want something to refresh us, keep us cool,
Exactly.
and replenish our water stores, as in all the other recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would go in the fridge. Obviously, because it's cold milk, it's going to take a little while longer. That's why we leave it in the fridge overnight.
Yeah.
And then you have a choice of garnish. Like we've got the nuts, we've got the dried fruit, and the various seeds, and that is really open for interpretation. We've chosen these because nuts are fantastic. We've got some great oils and fats in nuts that are really good for your body.
Yeah.
Dried fruit, natural sugars. You don't want to. We're not adding any sugar to this, as in the
Processed sugars.
processed sugar, caster sugars, or anything like that. If you want to, a top tip is to use maple syrup. Maple syrup.
I was going to say honey,
yeah.
but maple syrup is the better
Honey's
option.
great as well. Honey's got some great benefits as well, but maple syrup.
The real honey though, because there's some honey it is just syrup, isn't it? There's nothing.
can get
You know they
some-
got is it Manuka? Manuka,
Yeah.
excuse me, Manuka
Yes.
honey, and you have the different gradings and that.
Just in anything you
Talk
can
us
get.
through that actually, because I'm not so familiar with that. Are you guys familiar with? Either you guys familiar with the?
I do
the
know it's
numbering
a stronger-
system.
Yeah, consistency with regards to Manuka honey, and obviously the higher, and even with children, you have to be careful. You can't have the higher number for them.
Because
For reasons of like the natural ingredient of honey.
Too rich for them to process?
Rich, probably whichever way it may be, but just, obviously double check with your health of the child.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. And it's always been recommended when you go to certain places, to have the lower number for children in particular.
Right.
But I was always under the impression that maple syrup is not necessarily healthy. I mean, is it a good option?
Maple syrup is proven to be a lot better than just your refined processed sugars.
Okay, compared to sugars, yes, of course.
Or agave or agave is fantastic. Another syrup, but it's just a lot better for you. If you want to have sugar, use those kinds of things.
Okay, all right, good.
And that's going to really improve your health.
So one thing we also forget a lot of the times when we are eating our food, that yes, it affects our body, but actually it affects our mood. And something with carbs,
food and mood connection.
It really does make a difference to boost your memory, and it helps with with basically your mood. So when you have that sort of combination, because especially when you're fasting, you do tend to sort of like feel that you don't have that ability to concentrate, to actually, be motivated to do anything or to drive, especially people that are studying and working. These sort of ingredients and these sort of foods do make a difference to us. And we have to understand there is a connection to our mind and way of thinking. Even there are foods out there that can help us, reduce depression and stress and anxiety.
Exactly.
These things cannot be forgotten.
There's been a lot of research in there about food, because I've, as a psychotherapist, I work with a lot of people who have food addictions.
Yes.
And sometimes people use carbohydrates for, it's one of the hardest addictions to work with, because there's some substances that you don't need to take, period. So it's easier to get people to abstain, but to get people to abstain from eating food continuously, but eating the right kind of food, then it makes it a bit more tricky, and people comfort eat after negative experiences. So there's all these different reasons, all these different triggers. So food it's a bit of a minefield.
It is a minefield, but actually you touched on something there. When you say it's an addiction, like I work with a lot of people when it comes to addiction, with all types of addiction. And again, it's habit. So I like to, with NLP, it's about, learning, the way in which we think, the way in which we behave, and our behaviors, our habits is in the subconscious. We need to change that. So I help people change that, and that really does work with your diet. In the way in which you see food, the way you think of food,
the relationship
of it, everything matters. So when you want to diet,
food symbolizes things for some people.
When you want to diet, when you want to change anything, any habit, it takes a whole thought process, as well as with that being related to when your thought, with the way in which you speak about it, and then your habits come afterwards. And that's the whole practice of it. So that's something that I do with a lot of clients generally. And when it comes to food, it really does work. Seeing things in a different way, understanding it in a different way, learning more about it. And obviously we have these blind spots, and to open up those those lenses to see things in a different perspective really can help you. So don't just listen to information from the past. Don't just get information from your family and friends, because it is for them in particular. But it's good to know what's good for you. Yeah. And that's what's really important. You have to know your body.
I mean, I myself can take a lot from what you just said. I'm guilty of eating when I'm feeling down, or if I'm feeling a bit rubbish, I'm guilty of comfort eating. And if I just ate the right foods when I'm feeling like that,
it will change even your mood.
My mood will change, and I'll just feel a lot better, rather than going for those snacks and those fast foods,
And we also
what about timings of foods? But you mentioned the right foods. We're talking about the right foods. I've mentioned addictions. But what do you guys think about timings of foods? Because like
timings.
When you eat particular foods, like I wonder, is this a good meal for iftar or suhoor, or what time, or what point of the day or point of your 24-hour cycle would that be more, let's say, practical or more effective? Like I'm thinking about high carbohydrates just before you go and sleep. I've always said that. I've always heard that that's not ideal.
It may be, and again, it's a slow release. So then that's not a problem. But yes, ideally, it's nice to have it in the morning. And yes, certain foods.
So you can burn it off.
Yes, certain
because
foods.
It's slow release.
Yes, because it's slow release. Exactly. So certain foods you would have to have certain timings, but it's not everything. But obviously, with us, we are restricted with the times that we eat. So we have to be a bit more particular with regards to Ramadan. But even any time of year, there are certain foods that we should have, predominantly, in the morning or preferably in the morning. And, then there's the light snacks that you might have. So the worst type of, snacking or eating is the night food because like you said, you're not burning it. So then we need to be aware of that when we're eating late. And especially in Ramadan, it is late.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we also have a lot of fruits that we can actually add to this, for example. And fruits can be added to that. So that could be a substitute for other sort of snacks.
Just to touch on that, in the morning, you want to get as much liquid in you as can. That's not just drinking water.
Yes.
It has to be the food that you eat as well.
It was a hydrating type foods.
Yeah,
Yes.
everything has to hydrate you and help you last throughout the day. So fruit, really high in water, add that to the mix and,
Especially if you're
stuff
somebody
like
that loves coffee, then you need a bit of extra water, right? Because coffee, it pulls the water out of you.
Definitely.
hydrates you, yeah.
There are a
A lot
lot
of people like
foods
coffee
you
in the
need to
morning.
avoid.
I hold my hand up to get
Yeah.
the engine started and firing on 6 cylinders. Sometimes a little caffeine does do the trick.
It does, but again, there's always substitutes for it. And a lot of the time, we train our brains and our mind to think that that's what's actually giving it to us.
Yeah.
But if we train it for something else, it could do the same thing and have the same effect. Obviously, it takes time. It's a habit. And our bodies do need to adjust. And the same thing with Ramadan. We have to not just do things on the first of Ramadan. We have to train our bodies way before that. That's why we have the months of Rajab
Month
and
of
Sha'ban.
Sha'ban.
Not just for fasting, but it's to plan and
Spiritual
prepare.
preparation.
Exactly. And it's to do with the food, lessen your intake on caffeine, for example, because in Ramadan you're not going to be having caffeine as much and you shouldn't be. And like you said, it's
Yeah,
the,
I stopped
the
early. I
effects.
stopped the caffeine early. I
Yeah,
stopped
it's
it
all
early, yeah.
preparation. With anything in life, we prepare. So especially in Ramadan, most people, they don't prepare. And our bodies generally, even if we're healthy and we're normal, if we're automatically just going to start on the first day and do all of these long hours of fasting and, abstain from food and drink and water, whatever it may be, of course it's going to have a negative effect on us.
Yeah,
And then we think
yeah.
that we cannot perform and we cannot do this.
It's even when people are working. Like I said, when I work with people who's got food addictions, I will work with them to withdraw from certain types of food slowly. Because say, for example, you're somebody that you've been piling in the sugars, and then you just take the sugars out of your diet straight away. Almost like it leads to your mood crashing.
Exactly.
And so
It's all a process. Habits, everything that we do is a process, and it does take time. And a lot of us, we're not consistent. We think that we failed one day, we had too many biscuits, we can have the whole packet. No, you just
Yeah.
keep going.
yeah.
That's
No,
what
we
it's
don't
about.
stop.
Yeah.
We don't stop. And statistically, psychologists do say it takes between 60 to 90 days. But then it depends on the person. You can either just switch your brain straight away, or it can take time because obviously these habits have been built up for years. So some people, find it a lot more difficult to create these new habits. But again, when you have the idea of how good it is, and that value and that increased knowledge makes you, driven to do it even more.
I'm interested.
Makes it better.
You as a chef,
Yes.
with psychology of food. I mean, must be something that you touched on, studying chefery or something like that. What's your feedback about that?
Psychology of food is not something that you would normally be taught as a chef, but it's so important, not just for the people that you're feeding, but for your own lifestyle.
Okay.
Chefs, I think there was a survey done that chefs actually have the worst diets.
Oh, you guys are like doctors then, like like GPs. You know?
Don't
No,
know
I mean in the
about
sense of that GPs they have all the,
The
best
best
advice.
but they're not
but they
necessarily
don't
taking
always
it
take
and
the best.
using it.
They
That's
don't
it.
look after
Because,
themselves as well as they could.
Chefs work long hours. They don't want to go home and then, because they've been cooking all day, they don't want to go home and cook a really nice meal. They want to just get their food in and go to sleep. So often they're eating fast foods. I don't want to, I'm a chef myself. I don't want to speak bad about chefs, but
You don't want to sully the profession.
No.
But there's always basically a small amount of people that would have this sort of issue. Is that what you're trying to say?
That is real. It's real.
It's
It's
a
real, and it
issue,
does exist. Yes.
And chefs through Ramadan is it's really tough. You work in hot kitchens, hot environments. You want to be eating the right foods, just to get you through the day, because it can become a health issue.
Yeah, it's because you got to stay hydrated. You're dealing with the hot kitchens and stuff
That's
like that.
it. Yeah.
Really challenging.
That's
Really
it.
challenging.
So
really
again, how
challenging.
would we finish off this to sort of show
So
how it is?
As you can see, this is already
It's gone.
started
Yeah,
hydrating
it's
the
settled.
oats.
Yes.
So if you leave that overnight, that's going to be beautiful to eat. So you could chop the pistachios. I like pistachios whole, but just for the sake of it, let's chop the pistachios. You can put some more oats on top for texture.
Would it be slightly sort of like the texture for that at the end would be slightly like a mousse? Do you think like a loose mousse sort of consistency? Would you
You're
describe
along
it?
the right tracks. Yes,
Yeah.
it's going to be.
So you would kind of spoon it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's how you would
to
have
eat
it,
this with a
some
spoon
sort of
and,
that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Just to give the idea of what the finished product
Yeah,
would be,
yeah.
because
Just
we're not
have
going to be.
muesli or stuff like that.
Okay.
This is very similar.
And wear sandals and read a certain newspaper.
Yeah, that's the key. So, and that's how I would garnish it.
Okay, excellent, excellent.
Really simple.
Really, really informative
Yeah.
and inspirational. Thank you both for today.
Thank you.
You're
That
welcome.
was excellent. That was excellent. And up next we have Ramadan etiquette with Sister Masuma Jaffa and Laylatul Qadr.